me run through this history because we need to document this on tape. I don't know if I did it. Did I run through the conspiratorial history of Martin Luther King? Okay, we need to document certain things. Since we have the video here, we need to document certain things on tape so you can go back and study. Conspiratorial history of Martin Luther King starts with the rise of Honorable Elijah Muhammad in 1931, Marcus Garvey, and Noble Drew Ali. Based on the Niagara movement, which was the other side started by the Spingard brothers and the Jews, and the Niagara movement with W.E.B. Du Bois and all those met, and that started the basis of the in the Niagara movement, and that started the basis. They set up the basis of the NAACP based on the Niagara movement. And as a result, the NAACP was financed by the Spingard brothers, which is a Jewish organization. And their whole key is to always have a counter group to all black real revolution. So, you know that the counter group for Marcus Garvey was actually W.E.B. Du Bois. You know that whole thing. And a couple of other group of Negroes. So, Honorable Elijah Muhammad comes about. In 1931, he started up the nation in 1935. After 1935, in 1950 and 51, because Honorable Elijah Muhammad was not a great orator. Also, he was busy running the nation. His particular person that would get the actual people to where they were was Malcolm X. So as a result, the Spingard brothers and the NAACP decided that they need to start a movement just like the Nation of Islam and Noble Drew Ali, which is the Moorish movement. They need to start a movement called the Civil Rights Movement. So as a result, they needed to pick a person who was on the same age level of Malcolm X that had already started in the 1950s. So as a result, they was going to pick the guy that wrote the book Walls Come Tumbling Down. Name of the guy? Ralph David Abernathy, who was this black preacher that they named Abernathy Boulevard after, which was called Cascade, which the Shrine of the Black Madonna is on in Atlanta, Georgia. It's now called Abernathy Boulevard. And you don't get no name by the cracker, not unless you was down with the cracker from the get-go. So they was going to first name Ralph David Abernathy as the leader of this particular civil rights movement. But Ralph David Abernathy at that particular time was already established. He had already had his church, and he was a little older. So they picked the young, brash scholar from Morehouse and Temple. What's it? Temple? Lincoln University. They picked Martin Luther King. And Martin Luther King was a counter-revolutionary person that was supposed to counter Malcolm X and any other militant movement that would come out of the late 50s and the 60s. So as a result, what happened was they chose Martin Luther King, and also Martin Luther King, they had already done this particular program they had already done earlier in India. In India, the revolutionaries was rebelling against the British government. As a result, in order to rebel, because anytime, if you rebel in your own revolution, you will have vital revolution that's superior and good for your rise. So it is the role of the government to come in and give you a counter-revolutionary type method that is housed in revolutionary to take you off the path. So this was done earlier with the revolutionary people in India. The government and the British intelligence gave Mahatma Gandhi with a non-violent social change, and that version of an earlier civil rights movement. And as a result, they was able to destabilize India, and even though the British so-called got out, it will still remain the state of neo-colonialism, right? Just like they did with the African people. So because this particular base or this particular program worked in India, they decided to outfit Martin Luther King with the same type of nonviolent change, and he admitted that Mahatma Gandhi was his inspiration, because Mahatma Gandhi was a government agent for the British intelligence. So in the black struggle, Martin Luther King became the government agent for the CIA, FBI, and the whole government type thing. Although Hoover comes in and says he's a communist, that's to authenticate him. That's the name of the game, you see. That's to authenticate him. He's also a Negro Boule, so that fits right into the category of the person that they pick. One that will be loyal and would perform the civic's duty for the master. So as a result, the whole key was based on Scottish Rite Freemasonry in the southern jurisdiction of Scottish Rite Freemasonry that was first headed by Albert Pike, that wrote Morals and Dogma. As a result, it was always based on 1865 that it would put black people back into slavery. So in slavery, what did you do? You lived with the slave master, and you was provided your work by the slave master and basically all your means. Between 1865 and 1965, between that 100-year period, you had somewhat separated because you were segregated, and you had had our own black economic network going for you all across America. So it's not a thing where these damn foreigners come up in here now and say, black, all your Caribbeans and the banana boat motherfuckers now telling you that you're not viable, you can't start shit, and they come in their communities. Hell, you had your shit in the 1930s. This is documented. Black Wall Street, the black baseball leagues, black funeral homes, black dentists, black doctors. We had our vanguard, but it was broke up by the damn government. You understand where I'm coming from? So when they come with that shit, remember ours was broke up based on conspiracy. So between the 100-year period, from 1865 to 1965, you were basically free. But they also said, but it was a clause in Southern jurisdiction Freemasonry, Scottish Rite Freemasonry, that one day they would put you back into slavery. But we're talking about advanced slavery. So the advanced slavery, based on the Civil Rights Bill and based on integration, you went back to work on the plantations out of desegregation for the white man. It's because in the 100-year period he had built his society by stealing information from you. But the black man and the black woman was not as ignorant as they were from the 1950s on back, but you can steal shit from a nigger. So therefore, in order to steal the secrets and not pay you for the secrets and your inventions, it's called a damn job in the corporate world. So you just go to work and give up all your damn secrets, and you get a $30,000 a year check. You get a $30,000 check salary, and they make millions of dollars off you for free to bring them into the technological age, which is nothing but a modern-day slavery. So they used Martin Luther King to sign the civil rights bills for integration and desegregation and new civil rights job affirmative action to actually put you back in slavery that you were in prior to 1865. A spiritual woman in the 1960s, a spiritual woman who was a spiritual psychic, saw the whole plan that was going on. She knew what was going on. So when Martin Luther King appeared in her city, she stabbed that motherfucker. Then you understand why the woman stabbed him. This woman stabbed him because she knew what was up. You see what I'm saying? And that civil rights movement was a carbon copy of an original civil rights movement that was a black civil rights movement started by Adam Clayton Powell in Harlem. You see what I'm saying? And they moved him out of the way and put this fake person here. As a result of that, his whole thing was, as a result of that, he was no longer viable after 1965, after they killed Malcolm X. It was only a matter of time. Because the whole thing was to stop the radical element of the Nation of Islam, Malcolm X being the greatest one at that particular time. You see. So after they took him out, it was only a matter of time that he would actually die. Yeah, he was coming, but on the other hand, and all. But also he met with Honorable Elijah Muhammad for 3 hours, and Honorable Elijah Muhammad made him bear witness that the white man was the devil, and Martin Luther King bear witness that the cracker was the devil. He ought to know. Hell, he was the damn agent, so he ought to know that this man is the devil. You see? So as a result of this, they don't give you holidays and streets and stuff, not unless you're a noble people that do things for the United States government. So as a result, why is it the most racist president in the history of 20th century America, all of them are racist, but one of the most blatant racists, Ronald Reagan, would give him a birthday, sign a birthday in 1985, because they had the first birthday in 1986. But they signed the bill in 1985, what? 10 years after the signing of the Civil Rights Bill, and 20 years after the signing of the Civil Rights Bill, and 20-year anniversary after the death of Malcolm X. And it was all an elaborate scheme of the #1 double agent that this country has had. And as a result, to counter anything you say, it is the government and TV and the media always will bring up Martin Luther King. So anytime you start talking anything that makes sense, the first thing is the cracker bring up is Martin Luther King. Because Martin Luther King was an agent that was put there to stop black radical and right movement to right liberation. You see what I'm saying? And as a result, they gave him an actual birthday celebration, just like they celebrate presidents. He's the only black man that's celebrated in American history because he is on the equivalent of the same Illuminati people that's been holding us down. So this needs to be documented. But the actual woman stabbed him because she knew what the hell was going on. You see. And this needed to be documented also, too, that he was this particular double agent. You see. And that they use him today as the model in which they want, when they want you to be a damn fool, they bring up Martin Luther King. A fucking idiot that will come and tell you when they blow up the children in the church to say, if any blood will be spilled, let it be ours. That's a government agent. Because that's not right thinking of just a snuff-dripping woman out of Mississippi wouldn't say no junk like that. You see what I'm saying? So we understand. And also, if you notice, his base was the black church, because the black church is a government-owned operation also, too. You see, it's a government-owned operation also, too. And the black churches also have their hand in on the concentration camps also that's actually going on. More than 12 million people is in concentration camps, and we're going to go deeper in this tomorrow. Also, you seen on 60 Minutes the other week that they showed about the prisons, that the prison system is now on the stock exchange because the new slavery is the prisons. They're making billions of dollars off of prison goods, and that's modern day slavery. You see what I'm saying? Unicor is the name of this one of them, but that they only show you one of the actual companies. There's thousands of companies that make everything in America damn near is made. If it's not an outside company, it's made in prison. And this is nothing but the same slavery, subcontracted and all of that. So we're not talking about just one Unicor that they will give you one. That's how they throw you off. But it's actually damn near millions of things that's made in America, because this is actually the way that they so-called are going to balance the budget. See, America was never a country that pulled itself up out of bootstraps. America was built off of free labor. So in order to America to survive, because they needed a Renaissance period to try to bring America back into the actual 21st century, they had to go back with the free labor thing to stay healthy. And the best way to do it is to put Negroes back into slavery. And that's what you have also with that particular part. A Morehouse College student also bared witness to me about 2 weeks ago that he had mentioned one thing when he went home for the summer. He mentioned that there wasn't a lot of black people around. And he asked his mother, what happened to all the black people that used to hang out, you know, I think he's from Dallas, and the people say, well, I guess they're just staying in because of crime. But the fact of the matter is he had made the observation that there's not enough black people around for the simple fact a lot of black people are missing. You see, are missing. And when I told him about the concentration camps and all of that, he basically bared witness and understood what was actually going on. Now, let me explain something to you, and to show you what's happening, what's actually happening in Atlanta. In Atlanta, there's about 19 projects now that's closed down, and the people are gone. They just took the people and shipped them off on a concentration camp. There's an actual railroad track that separates one part of town from the black from the white, although most people don't know it. And that particular railroad track is the same one that they load black people on and take them to concentration camp. We have not only located the coastline, but we've also located the actual place where they load them on. There's an industrial mill, there's a whole industrial community that sits right in the black community, and people think it's based on industry. They think that all this stuff, they got rock piles and sand piles and all kinds of demolition things they deal. And actually there's a deportation center that's in there where they snatch black people up and they take them to that and they put them on the actual train. We've actually literally located the actual train that this is actually going on with. And what I mind you, like the Matrix System 3, Book 3 tells you that there was a train that derailed on a coastline in 1991 that was full of shackles. Well, to bear witness with that and all, we actually saw the shackles in January of 1995 with a particular brother working down in Valdosta, Georgia, working on the train tracks, and actually, because it was cold, he went in one of the box cars to get to eat his lunch. And they opened up this particular box car, and what they didn't tell in Matrix was the actual shackles was welded to the train, which means in actuality they're transporting bodies. So the trains now, the actual freight trains, are now actually the slave ships. And they're basically in places that you think that's industrial yards and shipping yards and freight yards. That's where they ship black people out with. Very key. Very key. We're just dealing with the hard copy now. Need to go back and reread the book, The Fall of America, Honorable Elijah Muhammad. In that he said that America would burn for 15 years. Well, now we've got information that they haven't been telling you, that in actuality, the fires that's going on in Los Angeles started in 1981. But basically they haven't been telling people the particular information up until recently, 1993. The fires that started, those fires have been burning since 1981. If you 1981 to 1996 is what? 15 years, which is a bit of a prophecy that's also in the fall of America. You see what I'm saying? And let me know when you want to stop, brother. You change the tape or anything.
The fire that's burning in Pennsylvania too.
In this, if you need to change it?
Underground.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard about that. That's
Yeah.
been burning for
Well, just let me know when you're ready. So also in that prophecy, he also prophesied that the white man would raise up Malcolm X in the last day to counter the teachers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It's also in the book. It's also in the book that he said that Jesse Jackson basically would be this new age Uncle Tom type person that loved the white man more than he loved himself. All this is prophecy in the particular book, Fall of America, 1973. And mind you, meet it. Farrakhan wrote another book called Torchlight for America, 1993, the anniversary of the fall of America, saying America can be saved, which is his whole UN speech. Can America, overt or divert the coming of Revelation or Apocalypse? Well, hell, that's a damn, anybody already know that. That's some bullshit. What's that? What you say? Well, they're saying they're caused by dry stuff and all this kind of thing, but actually it's spirits. Spirits can cause them. Basically, what's happening? Because as soon as they let out one, another one starts back up. Why? Hell, L.A. been dry for more than since 1981, or it's been dry. Surely it's been dry before 1993. Why haven't you heard of these fires before? But in actuality, these fires been going on. You see what I'm saying? So now Farrakhan writes Torchlights for America, which is a book to counter fall of America, because Farrakhan is now #1 government agent. You see what I'm saying? #1 and a clone. So he writes Torchlight for America, saying America can be saved, and his last Million Man March speech was what? Can America divert the war of Armageddon? Well, any fool would tell you that shit. Even white people will tell you hell no, because that's prophesied. If something is going to happen prophetically, and the Bible tells you that, or any scripture tells you it's going to happen prophetically, that's prophecy to say the shit going to go down. And there ain't nothing you can do to get out of it. And that's a slap in the face of black people. Ask black people, can America get out of Armageddon? Hell no. So I'm going to stop. Want me to stop? Let me know when you want me to stop talking. Let me know when you want me to stop talking based on the sound. Okay. So, for those particular people that need to see Farrakhan's boss, Farrakhan does have a boss. You can see Farrakhan's boss. You can see Farrakhan's boss if you get the 19 February Savior's Day 1993 video. You will see a white man he wears all black and he has a collar on. You will see him in several of Farrakhan's videos, but the one I do know that you can actually see this person, he sits right in the front row, is Farrakhan's boss. He's the one that tells Farrakhan what to do, and he's also a programmer of the clone, give or take which one is on the podium. If the Men in Black is a form of the Illuminati, he's one because he wears a black outfit and he has a collar. And he's at most of Farrakhan's speeches. He's also been featured hugging up with Farrakhan in The Final Call. And Farrakhan said he's one of his most closest allies, this white man. And that's Farrakhan's boss that comes in with the collar. And that's one of the people of the Illuminati that Farrakhan's report to, and he tells Farrakhan what to do. Also, Farrakhan is under this new, he is the modern day leader of the Martin Luther King type thing, because he just turned into that in 1991. He's the modern day leader, and one of those leaders, what are their things to do? To give marches. I Have a Dream marches. And that's what that whole thing is about. So now the people in New York are all mad with me. They say I'm talking shit about a Million Man March. Now I want to know, are we going to be adults here? If you are an adult, and you are a thinking human being, don't tell me that all it takes for you to feel good about America and feel good that you're going to rise is to get on a fucking bus and ride to damn D.C. and spend some damn money and hear a man preach at you who don't give the same speeches he did in the 1980s. You see what I'm saying? The money went to them, but in actuality, the whole key was to register 1 million black men, because you had to register to go to the march. So the whole idea was to register 1 million black men. And to announce the greater registration, which is now voting, which is standing up to be counted, to register 1 million black people who failed to be registered on the census of 1990. And every year we have a census, every 10 years, every decade. So the key was to register 1 million black men. Now Steve Coakley said that if anybody ever give you anything to write with, to sign up with, you know that's a government agent. Yet last year and this year, Steve Coakley came to Morehouse College and registered damn near 1,000 black students for some revolutionary party. You see what I'm saying? Which the same person that say don't sign up for nothing. He registered 1 million black students for a revolutionary party. You see what I'm saying? And the new thing is to take black radical leaders and turn them into government agents. And then they can really have you. And the biggest prize now, bigger than Martin Luther King, is Farrakhan. And the whole thing was to register people for the Illuminati. And that's the main thing of the Million Man March and this new march they have that they're going to have every damn year, to register more people. That he's now working for the doggone UN. That's why he had it. And that's the key. He's a clone. I mean, you know, but then again, on the other hand, you know, he had a choice. You either have a choice to either die. You see what I'm saying? Because the other one is still living. The other one is still living. Yeah.
His name right. He called him Steve Copeland. You know, he couldn't even his name.
Who? Yeah, right. Yeah, OJ. Yeah, that whole thing. So I'm saying now, it's funny because it's funny, you know. This whole thing of signing up people, very key. You see, very key. But if you get the Savior's Day 1993 tape, February 1993 tape of Savior's Day, you'll see the white man in the actual front row, wears all black with a white collar. You'll see that particular guy.
So is this a way like sensitators in a way?
Huh?
Keeping
Well, it's tracking black people. New forms of the police. There's several new forms of the police. Several new forms of the police. There's no, so when people say I'm out of the system, it's impossible to be out of the system. If you have a phone bill, electricity bill, water bill, heat bill, you in the system. You see what I'm saying? That's all the forms of the actual police. You see what I'm saying? All forms of the actual police. Now the government is now getting ready to go on. They're going to give a lot of the information you're going to get on the Illuminati from the internet. You have to read with a grain of salt, because a lot of things that they are saying is the actual government putting out this information to tell you that they're going to do one thing, because a lot of people know about the Illuminati and they do other things. So one of the key things one of the main things right now is the invasion of the body snatchers, based on a spiritual element, which I'm going to go into later on, and also the snatching the actual bodies for melanin, that I'm going to deal with actually tomorrow also too. The invasion of the body snatchers that we're talking about here is the new thing that we should be concerned about. So, in order for the government to throw you off course, the government will come in and give you some shit. Remember now, the government always gives out information on shit they did 10 years on back. So to throw black people off now, the government will come in and admit that they put drugs in the black community. They only give one or two people, so when the investigation is over, there won't be but one or two people go to jail, and that's not the CIA. But the key is, if we know by being rational people and understanding the last couple of years of the New World Order, we know that all print and media is run by the government. So you know if the damn newspaper broke the story, that's the government breaking the story to throw you off, and now you're in an argument about some shit that happened 10 years ago that you knew about 10 years ago, because you've been saying that's a damn part of the black culture now. That's been a part of the black culture since the 1950s, that they funnel drugs in the community. So why are you arguing about it now? You see? So one of the keys is to throw you off by arguing over some shit that happened 10 years ago, knowing that you can never really find justice in something that happened 10 years ago. Meanwhile, you thinking that you damn battling with the government, and the government gave you the information, and they own a whole nother program. They're always 10 years up ahead of you, and you reading, that ain't even current events. You reading past history. And that's basically because black people are becoming restless, so they got to give you something. The propaganda is to talk shit about themselves to make you think in actuality that you still on top of things. You see. So that whole thing is thrown off. And you can tell that the niggas are stupid. The first thing they want to do is go to the same damn people that say that they did the shit for an investigation. You acted for justice from the doggone perpetrator. And these are rational thinking so-called intellectuals, that the best we have, so-called. You see what I'm saying? And you can understand how we still are in this mess. Hell, if the damn learned of us is fools. What you think about the average person on the street? Check. Also, and the whole thing is to take you away from body snatching, which is the new thing now. Body snatching. Yeah.
You know, we had a homeless society out here at Old City Hall.
Yeah.
It's nothing down, no one down.
No. The whole thing is cleaned out. There's an entire neighborhood called Vine City that I used to live in. The entire neighborhood is cleaned out. As a matter of fact, now in my lectures, I'm getting actual people that's missing people. You see. They're all gone. All gone. And so the movie to show you this is go see Extreme Measures. Some of these movies you need to go see. You need to spend money to go see some of these movies. You see, you can't wait for some things to come out on video because the shit is over. And you didn't get the game. Hell, you might be in the concentration camp for saving fucking $6 to go to a damn movie. To understand, to counter everything is your own knowledge. And Extreme Measures is a very important movie that you need to go see. The concentration camps are not as you think. They do have ones on top of the ground, but most of the concentration camps are up under the ground. Go see the movie Fortress. Christopher Lambert. Fortress. They don't need but 2 or 3 people to run a whole concentration camp, and when it's underground, where the hell are you going to escape to?
How about the military installation and stuff closing down now?
Yeah, that's also a form of it also, too. And yes, those are the original holding centers, but the real ones are up underground. And the movies that they show you where they put this particular implant in you, that's a bomb, and if you go past a certain point, you'll explode. Get the movie Fortress. They didn't stay in the movie theaters for a week and a half before they pulled it. They're located there are concentration camps in every area of the United States. Just as cloning centers and the rest of the things. We're talking about every part of the United States is concentration camps. Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey, Delaware, everywhere there's a major influx of Negroes. You see what I'm saying? And they even got some in places where there ain't Negroes for some radical white people. You see.
Is there anything that we can do to more or less prevent or look out for this about ourselves?
No, you don't have to do nothing because you are already exempt from. Your spirit will keep you safe. Because in the last days in the Gnostic scripts they say that the ones who bear witness to the knowledge and don't reject initiation will be saved. And we'll go into that now. All of our people will be saved, but they're saying they need a few people to stick around in the physical body. So therefore, you are immune, and your knowledge and your quest for knowledge and your hunger for knowledge keeps you immune for anybody messing with you. It's just like any spiritual thing. If the wind does what it's supposed to do, it will manifest. If you do what you're supposed to do, there's no way that anything can happen to you. You see what I'm saying? A lot of people that's up in there is niggas that couldn't give a damn about shit. But then again, we understand that we're not to chastise that because we understand that that's based on conditioning that they are that way. But we can say for the ones that's into knowledge, you are exempt from that particular chastisement because they need a certain amount of people around to be the light bringers that initially save all the brothers and sisters who still living. And remember, the ones that's gone, they're not really dead. They're just transforming before us. Before us. In Atlanta last week, 2 weeks ago, a black judge ended up getting killed. So now you're going to see a lot of them ended up getting killed because the spirit going to be taking them out because they have sold our people down the drain. You go before a nigger judge, male or female, and they act like you the damn scum of the earth now. And these damn lawyers and all that type stuff. So these are things also, too. I'm going to mention that a great tarot deck that you need to get, which has a superior book that comes with the set. It costs like $19 for the whole set and the book sold together, is the New Orleans Baudin or Voodoo Tarot deck. The New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck. You can get it at Barnes & Noble's, Tower Records, Tower Records bookstore, Borders bookstore. Just about every metaphysical bookstore sells the New Orleans Baudin Tarot set, which gives you a superior book. The book is superior, and the tarot cards also it also incorporates both Santeria, which is Yoruba, and the Vodun, the Loa, in both tarot card deck, and we're going to go into why you should be using the tarot at this particular time also.
Is that better than the Orisha deck?
The Orisha deck is also a very powerful one. A very powerful one also. And to piggyback off that, your tarot has symbols on them. I would also tell you to get the more traditional deck because you want to understand the symbols. So I would advise one of the best decks to get, which is one that is very advanced but very understandable, because you will have some that's they're practical, but they don't have enough science in them. Because you're not necessarily, so there's some practical to get you to read the tarot. Reading the tarot is good for divination, but you want the tarot to understand the symbology on it, because each level of the tarot is the level of the archetypes of the collective unconsciousness of melanin. The star, the hermit, the lovers. These are different aspects of the soul. So we want you to learn the tarot for the aspects of your soul, because each level that you get in the tarot based on path working is what level you are as in the soul. The most advanced one is the Aleister Crowley tarot, but the book is very hard, and it's not one that I would suggest for beginners. But now what you want to get is it's pretty, yeah, those are ones, but the one I want you to get is, because there's one that has advanced, is you want, the Crowley is advanced, but Crowley got his from another one, which is advanced, but it's simple. And it's called the Golden Dawn Tarot Deck and Book by Robert Wang. That's the one you want to get. That's the best one for both beginners and also to get advanced knowledge. But eventually the tarot is supposed to be used to understand different levels of the soul, as well as divination as far as reading. Robert Wang, the Golden Dawn Tarot Deck and Book by Robert Wang. That's the best one. The Crowley is the more advanced one, but his book is so advanced until you wouldn't even, with Crowley, you wouldn't even know what the hell you're reading. He's very hard. I have Crowley, and I can read Crowley, but I found out to get a simplistic thing of Crowley, you need the Golden Dawn Tarot Deck and the book by Robert Wang. You have to buy both of them separate. The book and the cards will cost you about $20 for both, but they both sold separately.
About the Mayan or the old Mayan?
I mean, there's hundreds of tarot decks, and all of the tarot decks have the same symbology on them. But what happened with the Golden Dawn Tarot, the reason why I say that one is more superior, is the symbology of the tarot deck was given by the Moors in Spain. They brought it up from Egypt. But what happened is the Europeans later on used it to read. The key with the Robert Wang Golden Dawn Tarot deck is after they came out of Egypt and they had certain papyruses, they tapped into a certain secret chiefs, which is a certain hierarchy or brotherhood, and they gave them the missing components. And so some of the most advanced is the Crowley Tarot deck or the Golden Dawn. I would say get the original one. Then you can go to the Crowley. But get the original one and you won't need the Crowley, because it's going to give you more than just the symbology of Egypt. It's going to give you, it's the only one that it mentions Sirius. You see what I'm saying? And other things like that, because it was given by Awas and the secret chiefs. The other one was also given by Awas, but it's a very advanced one for advanced occult studies. So if you really want to understand, you want to deal with the one from the Golden Dawn Tarot. But also, but I also recommend you get several things. See, I don't just buy one thing. I buy everything.
I was
But,
already working with the Mayan.
well, that's good too.
That's why I wanted
But that's good too. But the key is you're working with that, and you can continue working with that. But also, you need to get the Golden Dawn as well as go and buy the Vodun one, the New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck. You see what I'm saying? Which has a very superior book. The New Orleans Voodoo Tarot deck has a superior book that mixes the Vodun with the Awas current. Because the person who wrote the New Orleans Vodun Tarot deck was a part of several systems, the Cincinnati Brotherhood, which is connected with the OTO, which is Crowley movement. So it's also Vodun mixed in with AWAS. You see what I'm saying? Which is very key that you get that particular book. That particular book also too. Get into a few more things. We we're in for the long haul. When we get rid of the thing, we'll do some question and answers. Tupac Shakur, we just tell you, basically Tupac Shakur was an experiment to make millions of dollars that they experimented with a person a year before that they killed called Selena. And Selena was virtually an unknown in the United States of America, had made her first English album that wasn't even released, but they killed her, and she immediately became a multi-million-dollar superstar as a martyr death entertainer. So the next year it was to be repeated with a person that was known but had fit the bill for trouble, that fit a pattern, and therefore, as a result, the stock market went up with Tupac Shakur as his death was carried out based on the same conspiracy, and Suge Knight and Interscope Records was in on it, which is a collaboration of dope dealers and some white Jews out of Chicago. So they took him out also too. But he could have survived also, but he did something and the spirits turned their back on him. In June, he recorded a video with Judicial where he was in the back of the limousine with white women all over him. It ran for like 2.5 weeks, and they pulled it and did another video, but it peaked who he really was. And throughout the history of rap, because of the hardness, you never really associate, your rap singers never really associated themselves with white women publicly. Even if they had a pool party, they might have a white girl in the pool party, but it was never nothing intimate. But when Tupac broke the rules by having an intimate relationship with a car full of white women in the back of a limousine, and these white women all over him. And people don't know about that, and as a result, what spirits that he had with him that saved his ass the last time let his ass go. You see. When the conspiracy came up with Suge Knight and that whole thing to make this money based on making a martyr out of him. That's the key behind Tupac Shakur. You see what I'm saying? Also in the HBO movie, it was fitting that they would put out the movie The Crime of the Century, dealing with the Limburg baby case the last month or so, which is in actuality a 1930 version of the 1990s trial of the century. Everything goes in a cycle. 30s, 60s, 90s. You would have the trial of the century. From the crime of the century, which is the Limburg baby case that they wrongfully convicted this particular man. Now, it might not come out in the trial, but it will come out later on as a judgment tool, because we told you that judgment trial of O.J. Simpson was the great judgment and a mentor. But the real person that was in on the killing of Nicola, set the whole thing up, was actually Cato Kalin. He was the one that provided the socks in the floor with the bloody thing. He was the one that waited for the 3 taps. And he was one of the main people. But the whole key is to make him seem like he's a world's greatest house guest and some stupid person, because they understand that you thought that Jethro Bodine was this way called Bill Clinton, and you thought he was stupid, and he's the most ruthless and powerful president that we got. Just as they did the thing with President Jimmy Carter, who gave you Global 2000 that set up the basis for your ass going to concentration camp right now. So they did the same thing with the Cato Kalin, and he's the #1 man that, if not killing, he was one of the main conspirators in this thing. You see what I'm saying? In this particular part. And he moved into the house as a form of that, and one of his results was that they was going to try to give him a career. But that didn't really actually go down, because the first thing he was seen was at a presidential banquet right after the trial started. You see what I'm saying? Also, too, like I said the last time I was here, get the movie The Chase, explains the whole thing, which also was put out before the actual movie the actual killing actually happened. Different movies, little small subtle things. A movie called Blue Skies with Jessica Lange and Tommy Lee Jones. A movie about nuclear testing, and you might not think this conscious, but when they dropped this bomb on 2 people that was at a nuclear site, and the people started, their skin started rotting off, and when they went to them, they said, I can't believe that my government can do things with me, to do this thing to me, and if my government say that they didn't do it, I have to believe my government. So it's actually showing how in this cult that we call America, it's a big cult. And the cult leader, whatever the cult leader says, because they put it into your subconscious, the only thing you can think of is vote. What the cult leader said goes. You see what I'm saying? What the, goes. And so when they tell you that poverty among black people has fallen the lowest ever, they came out in September and say poverty among black people is at the lowest ever. That is because the population of those people who would constitute for poverty is now missing. They're gone. So that's why it would be the lowest ever, based on that particular. They're saying it's the lowest since 1959, and that's because they have killed that many people. You see what I'm saying? That's because they have killed that many people. You see. But like I said, your movie Extreme Measures is going to be the truth. Also, if you look in the book of Matthew, in the book of Matthew, they're going to tell you that Elijah will come in the last days, but the people will treat him and do him as they will and will not believe him. And right up under the passages, after he's taken up in the whirlwind, they say the Son of Man will be chastised at the hand of the sinners, which is white people, by not bearing witness to certain teachers when they say the white man was the devil in the 1930s on up. So that's in the book of Matthew. They will talk about that particular part. Also, like I said too, your career is a reward to keep you in slavery. Your career, believe it or not, since you have no culture, your career becomes your essence and your culture. That's why you notice when you go someplace, you can she can be a black woman or a black man dishing out damn mashed potatoes, but she thinks she owns the goddamn kitchen. That's right. You see what I'm saying? That's right. That's because you have no cultural background, your career acts as a substitution. So one other reason was to bring you into this particular integration and this affirmative action, which I do believe now, if they cut out the affirmative action, your ass is through, is because the simple fact that they knew that the career could substitute for the slave mind who has a void of history. Your career would become you, and therefore you would become inhuman. And that's the reason why you sell out your brothers and sisters based on some type of job or some type of thing. Now, based on the welfare thing, we're just still going through the hard copy. We always do hard copy to bring you up to speed. And we was explaining this last night. Based on the welfare, they cut out the welfare for the simple fact that the welfare bill is this thick. So they read the first page and tell you got to have a job in 2 years. But there's several clauses in you having that job. So therefore, when you read the whole bill, they can cut out welfare in January, as long as it's passed. You see? Long as that's just to get it past the Senate, and that's the first page. But they can cut it out in January because most of it goes back to the states. And based on you haven't read the whole bill, they can cut the shit out first of 97. You see? Especially after the doggone election. So one thing that's actually happening, they're saying, well, we need more jobs. So they will make more jobs available, but the new thing, and we discussed this last night, is the new thing is they're not hiring full-time. And so if you're not hiring full-time, because they're not out to really make money, they're out to get you, they can put a payroll full of people and schedule them in where you don't get full-time employment, and in a big city like the big cities here where rent is over $400, you see what I'm saying? And in Atlanta, if it's $400 and that particular stuff, the cost of living is lower, you still fuck. So if they don't give you 8 hours and 40 hours and full-time employment, that's the key. And that's the new key now, is no full-time. So they'll provide jobs, as President Clinton is asking for. But those jobs are going to be part-time. So therefore, you won't be able to pay rent. And by you not paying rent, you get out on the street. If you're a welfare person, you go into the concentration camp. New things is now, like I explained, and it's happening in Atlanta, they'll come into an apartment complex and say, you got roaches in here. We give you 1 month to get rid of the roaches. When we come back, if the roaches not here, you out on the street. And those people being welfare victims, they get out on the street. The only place to go is a homeless shelter. In the homeless shelter, they put you on a damn train. You see. But knowing that those particular, if you live in a building, a project building, hell, your roaches can be some other neighbor roaches. And it's impossible to get rid of them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because the way the building feeds the roaches.
Feed the roaches. Because first of all, the buildings are real old. They don't have a proper maintenance. So it feeds on the roaches, and it's impossible to get rid of them. Hell, some niggas can't get rid of their roaches in these big-ass mansions around here. You see what I'm saying? You know you ain't going to be able to get one if you can't afford the real deal exterminator. You see, so it'll be something else. So we're just dealing with a certain amount of things here, giving you up the speed. So now, certain things we'll deal with tomorrow. Moorish science. We're going to deal with that whole key on Moorish science. There's another thing I know if it's still on HBO. It's called The Search for Sanity, and it shows you how really crazy white people are on HBO, as well as this dominatrix thing that they got on how they like to be spanked, and all these particular these rich lawyers and bankers and all go and pay thousands of dollars a month to get their ass whipped with these women and shit, and get the hell beat out of them. You see.
The bristle tank?
You just all kind of things. Just beat them and stuff, and all, everything, And so, verbal abuse, physical abuse, and all that. So they just still show you how crazy they are, and all. One thing that you need to start doing, and like I said before, you need to start reading the Bible, all of it now, as modern history. Since the Bible is all carved up, but the Bible comes from ancient scripts. And if you read them, and the ancient scripts was never talking about a historical thing, they was talking about prophetic. And the Bible turned it historical. So the only thing you have to do is read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation as it's going on now, and the Bible comes alive. It comes alive. Take, for instance, this particular part here. Or it can be history that started from Middle Passage on up, because it's a history of a people. Jacob sold into slavery. You hear about that. Jacob sold into slavery in Egypt, but we know it's not the Egypt of 2,000 years. We know that Egypt is the land of bondage now, because in the Hermetic text of Asclepius, which is the same Exodus, they talk about Egypt being a foreign land. But Egypt is just the name of a kingdom. But Jacob sold by his brothers into Egypt. That's Jacob. Jacob means Jacob's ladder, which means the Kabbalah, and Jacob is another name for the black man. Hebrew name for black. Jack in the box. Kakshidi, Jacob, the black body. Jacob sold into slavery by his brothers means the black man sold into slavery by his brothers from Africa. So Jacob was sold into slavery and bondage by his two brothers. So these are things that makes the Bible come alive if you read them now, because the Bible was never historical. It became historical by the Roman writers, which we're going to deal with something when I get into the Gnosticism tonight. It became historical by the Roman writers and all. You see what I'm saying? Those particular scriptures. So you need to read all these particular scriptures. What's the one? Joshua made the walls of Jericho come tumbling down. Jericho is America. Joshua, Yeshua, which means the Christ, which the Christ is in you. You make the walls of Jericho come tumbling down. So the Hebrews and all the fake white Hebrews trying to make a history for themselves. They make all the ancient Hebrew scripts of the black person writing in the future, and 98% of it is in the future. They make those particular things historical back then, but it's talking about now. You need to read the Bible a certain way to make it come alive. Book of Matthew, all of those particular books, but even in Genesis, certain things make it come alive and all. And the Genesis story is the creation of the white man. You see what I'm saying? Also, you need to start using orishas and loas as alternative forms of surgery. You don't need the man cutting on you now. There's certain things you can do as alternative forms of surgery where the actual orishas can come in and operate on you, because the physical body is the easiest to prepare, to repair. And you can use these. Rudolf Steiner, in his book Universe, Earth and Man, says the Egyptian deities, they never hardly used to cut on people. That was drastic. That's the last resort that you would cut on a person. So as a result, they could go into a temple and put that body down, lay that body down on the temple, and do a ritual, and certain deities would come in and operate on that body. You see what I'm saying? And they didn't have to cut into the body and different things. So, and especially terminal things that they couldn't do, then they would have the deities to do it. And so now you can use your Urubas, your deities, or whatever form as alternative way of healing.
So what you're saying is the corresponding deity, let's say Ogun would be influence a certain part of the body, Shango would influence a certain part of the body, Legba.
Yeah, certain part of the body. But on the other hand, if you don't know the systematic way of that, you would basically understand that each person has at least 3 orishas, and your 3 orishas would be the people that would be in charge of seeing that happen. You see what I'm saying?
So that means okay. That's that means you make an Igbo to the Orisha controlling whatever part. That,
right. Yeah.
Still has to be,
exactly, because there are different parts of the body that the Orishas. Right. Which is real simple to break down. I mean, there's several books as well as several people can give you information who's Yoruba practitioners. You don't, and there's several Orishas that work with several organs and several parts of the body, and that can heal that particular one. And all you'd have to do is call on that. You see what I'm saying? And it would actually do that. As a matter of fact, we do know that this white boy who had gangrene, he's now a major Yoruba priest here in the United States, who had gangrene, and the doctor told him that he had a day before they cut off his leg. He jumped on a plane and flew to Nigeria, and the Yoruba priest cured him overnight. You see. So
the teacher, remember the teacher that he didn't go? They he died. I'm trying to say the teacher, but something was wrong with him. You know, gangrene in the leg, and all his friends, the medical profession and stuff, they couldn't recommend to put him on a plane and send him over.
Oh yeah, that was the guy, Mr. Belt Middleton. He has these particular, Dr. Ben and all of them has been on his programs at ETV in Columbia, South Carolina, and his programs were so good until the rest of the country picked him up. And he ended up dying last year because nobody could tell him to seek the spiritual path, and he's been a part of ASCAC and a part of the Afro-Central community for years. He's one of the pioneers in it. And in the last point, when he had bone marrow cancer, might I add a 40-year-old man with bone marrow cancer. That ought to let you know something. Just the same way your boy came down with a brain tumor. They killed his ass, Reginald Lewis. Is it Reginald black guy running these crackers, running them fools with Yoruba and different things. Very good book. Serpent in the Rainbow movie. A good movie also too. Y'all all right? I just want to know. So, you know, I'll be sure to look out for this particular month. There's a 2,000-year celebration of Israel that all the white Jews celebrate. We know 2,000 years ago wasn't no white Jews on the planet. So you know that's Ron L. As a people coming up, 2,000-year celebration. This coming up also too this month, which is also energy that's actually coming down. So you need to be on the lookout for that particular part and try to get the right date. Trying to find some Jewish publications and all that type of thing to try to understand what's going on. We're going to deal with a little bit here for the people that didn't get your melanin ritual. We got them on sale for $2. The Ancient Papyrus of Aberystwyth. So don't forget to get that before you leave. Forget that before you leave. But we're going to. You need to start studying a certain amount of things called alchemy. Alchemy is basically the study of melanin. The term alchemy is generally supposed to have derived from the Arabic name Egypt, al-Kim, black land or black people. It is thought to be an allusion of the rich black alluvial soil of the fertile Nile Valley. That rich black alluvial soil ain't talking about the physical soil of the fertile Nile Valley. It's talking about the rich black alluvial substance. You see what I'm saying? Association, it came to be regarded as the black art. There's a book called Richard Cavendish, The Black Art. Badass little book. You ever get your hands on it? Richard Cavendish, The Black Art. Whenever you hear the word black art, black magic, about the study of melanin and the use of magic attaining to melanin. The black art, or the royal art. Although it has perhaps never been held in such a tradition as other more daunting branches of occultism, such as magic, sorcery, Satanism, Goetia, and necromancy. All of those Satanism, sorcery, magic is the study of melanin. That they give you these names to keep you away from your particular science. By the Arabic language, it is also constructed that many different meanings can be derived from a trilateral root word of their variations. The writer of the Eastern esoteric scholar, Adrius Shah, says that, has shown that for black, we really ought to read wise. Black means wise. The confusion arises from a play on two roots, F-H-A-M and F-H-H-M. And it says pronounce Fechem, F-E-C-H-A-M, or F-A-C-H-A-M, meaning black, or it also means wise. The word Fechem, the root, can also mean knowledge, understanding, depending on the context of pronunciation. Thus, the so-called black art is the indication neither of rich or dark soil, nor dark doings of evil of the magician, but it means the wise art of the black magician. The wise arts of the black magician. The chief patron of magic and that particular art is Hermes, which is Tahuti. So when you're dealing with Hermetic arts, you're also dealing with the mystery of melanin. But now, this particular book was out of print. It used to be called The Fucanelli Phenomenon by Kenneth Rayner Johnson. It's now back in print, and the name of the book is called The Immortal.